Okay, it's Simon Phillips here. Just wanted to welcome you all to this final video in the series about the unwanted change curve. And today we've got David Walker and Cathy Summers. So over to you guys.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Simon. Yes, today Cathy and I are going to recap the previous 7 videos, and I'm going to hand straight over to Cathy on that basis.
Okay, thanks, David. So good morning, everyone. I'm Cathy Summers, and this is the last of our webinars on the unwanted change curve. So over the last week or so, we've been explaining to you how people usually respond to change, and we've been sharing our tips and our insights with you to help you navigate your way through the unwanted change curve. So David, can you just go to that first slide? So this is what we've been talking you through. This is the unwanted change curve. So, and the next slide, please, David. So we all go through this curve at our own speed and our own pace. And there's no right or wrong place to be on the change curve. And also feeling all the emotions that go with it, which can be a bit of an emotional roller coaster, is both human and normal. It's perfectly normal, and it happens to all of us. And so you can see these are the tips that we've passed on to you, starting with the red one with shock, and moving on to denial. And we've talked about how to move through frustration, what to do if you're feeling depressed, how to get the best out of moving into acceptance, how to experiment, and then as you come into what's the new normal, how to make the most of that. So remember also that we do, and we probably will, slide up and down the curve and revisit stages more than once. It's not unusual to do that at all. So it's very common. I remember thinking years ago that because I quite like change and I quite like the excitement of it, that the change curve wouldn't affect me. And then something happened one day and I found myself smack in the middle of frustration, and it really took me by surprise, and I just thought it was mind over matter, and then I discovered it isn't. So allow for the possibility that you may come back to one stage, you might slide backwards, you might go round in circles. It's perfectly normal. And also in all of this, remember that asking help from other people isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength and resilience. There's a lovely book that a friend of mine pointed me to very recently called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And there's a lovely quote in it about asking for help. And it goes something along the lines of, asking for help isn't giving up, it's refusing to give up. And for those of us who like to stand on our own 2 feet and be independent and not bother anybody and not give anybody any trouble, I think it's a really good reminder. So as we move through this change curve, a sense of purpose and a mindset of curiosity is going to help us emerge, come out the other end much stronger, so that when we get into the new reality, the new normal, or rather the next normal, we can flourish and thrive. And also, once we've journeyed through change and we've gone through that curve, it's a great opportunity for us to make changes in both how we look at ourselves and also how we look at the world. Because we all know, we know it rationally, and I think we've seen it play out recently, and we still are seeing it play out, that we're in a world of continuous change. Change isn't a one-off, it's here to stay. So can I have the next slide, please, David?
I think as we move on there, Cathy, I just talk about my position, really. I think I reached acceptance very, very quickly, because I was resigned to how things were, and so okay, let's get on with it. And I think I'm now oscillating between new normal and experiment, as that new normal evolves, because as everybody said previously, it's what's the next normal, because new normal will evolve, and it will continue to evolve, and it will continue to evolve as we all work out what that normal looks like, as in terms of governments and supranational organisations, communities, families, ourselves. So I think for me, I'm spending a lot of time oscillating between experiment and new normal.
Yeah, thanks, David. That's a really, really good point. And we all know we're waiting for the next announcement on post-lockdown. It's very possible that some of us will go bing bong right back to another part of the change curve, depending on what comes out. So yeah, thanks for that insight, David. So we've shared our insights and our own learning with you about the change curve. And we hope now that you'll feel able to help yourself and to help others around you to deal with where you are now on the change curve as you move through each of the stages, and where you go next on the change curve. And so we think it's time for us to hand the baton over to you. So now I'd encourage you to ask yourself, where am I on the change curve? And what does this mean for me? And what can I do now for myself and for those around me? And where next? And this is not one of those occasions where you can think yourself along the change curve. The only way to move along it is, you do need some reflection, but is to do stuff. And also have a think about where next for you as a change maker. And David, can we have the next slide, please? And if you're, I don't know if you can see this on the camera. David, can people see that?
I can see it just about, yeah.
Yeah. If you're feeling a bit like that, it says, "Oh crumbs," then remember that you're part of a much bigger community of change makers. This is just a few of us. So these are all my colleagues who've brought you these webinars over the last week, but you're in a big family of change makers, the Change Maker Network, and we will continue to support you. So next slide, please, David. Amidst all of this change, and in spite of all of this change, go and be a change maker. So lastly, a thing to pop in the chat box is, right now, please share with us what's your biggest challenge in the next normal going forward. So thank you very much for joining us. We wish you all the very best for this, and I'm going to hand us back over to David now.
Simon, are there any questions or comments that you'd like to share at this point before I finish?
There's no questions at the moment. Oh, look, no sooner have I said that, and a couple of questions have popped in. So, question from Nikki: how can we all support each other to be a change maker?
So, there's lots of ways that we can do that. One of them is put your noticing radar on and look around you and listen to people, get to know the people in your network, connect with people who are making change happen. And then once you've got to know other change makers a bit better, you'll know more about them to start being able to help them. So, and a really simple thing is encourage all the people you know to join the Change Maker Network. All the change makers that you know out there, bring them into the family, because it's a great forum to support each other, share tips, advice, share questions, share successes, share learning. So those are a couple of great things. David, any thoughts?
No, I think for me, it's very much about think of this in terms of community. I live in a small village, and we talk about community as being how do we keep the parishioners together and so on. But the whole world can be a community. So you have your social groups, you have your work groups, you have all of those great things that you do for your for charities, volunteer organisations at work, wherever it is. They're communities, and they're communities of people. So it's all about people. Yeah. And it's how do we as individuals make our greatest contribution to our life on this planet.
And all those people out there who are doing stuff, it's very easy for other people to think, oh right, they're on top of it. They know what they're doing. They look like they've got a mission. They're on it. And it never hurts every now and again to just say, how are you? How are you doing?
Yeah. That's spooky, Cathy, because the next question from Vanda is, are there some good opening statements or questions to start the how are you managing conversation?
Well, there's various. I'm sure we've all got some of our favourite phrases. A favourite start of mine with anything where I'm not quite sure where it's going to go is I'm wondering, and it can bring that kind of lightness of curiosity rather than that interrogative, how are you, account for yourself, type thing. So that's one way of doing it. Another one is to share how you're feeling. So you can always lead with, gosh, this is all a bit up and down, and I'm feeling a bit out of sorts and discombobulated. How are you doing in all of this? And so I think again, it's curiosity as opposed to I must rescue you.
I think for me, it's all about being open and ensuring whatever it is you say, it's avoiding any hint of it being an interrogation or I'm trying to glean information you didn't have before. So, and Cathy's point about leading. This is how I am today. This is how I feel today. Is a good way of doing that.
Mm.
Great. And Zarina asks, David, Cathy, in your view, what does it mean to be a change maker now?
What does it mean to be a change maker now? I think, gosh, there couldn't be a better time to be a change maker. Well, I don't know if there's ever been a bad time to be a change maker, but I think being a change maker now, gosh, there's no shortage of things to get stuck into and missions and opportunities and problems and issues. I think what I find really, really interesting is I think there's increasing recognition of the fact that change makers aren't necessarily the people at the top, the leaders of the community, the leaders of the organisation, the leaders of the country. That I think now we've all seen it everywhere, and particularly over the last few months, is the change makers are everywhere, at the grassroots level. They're the people who just see an opportunity or a gap and just go and do something about it.
Yeah, I think for me, I truly believe that anyone can be a change maker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we always talk about change makers in communities and in the workplace and so on, and I believe that's absolutely true. And as Cathy says, anybody can be a change maker because anybody can find something to make better for those people around them.
Great. And I've got one question for you. Do I have to feel like a superhero to be a change maker?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's a really good question, because we can often think, what I want to do, it's not big enough, or I haven't made a big enough impact. And I talk to a lot of people who are trying to show, maybe maybe they're writing a CV or something, and they're trying to show that they've made an impact, and they're really worried because nothing ever looks big enough, and it really doesn't matter. It's about having a positive impact, and we all know some of the smallest kindnesses and things that people have done on a very practical level have had the biggest impact and the most lasting impact on us. So I don't think we need to feel like we're a superhero. I think we just need to feel inspired to do it, and just get out there and do it, and recognize, we are a change maker, as David said. We can all do it. We can all do it. David?
No, I've absolutely nothing to add.
That's lovely. Thanks, Cathy. So it looks like that's the end of the questions. So would you like to wrap up now?
So hopefully, we through these events, we've actually helped you understand what the unwanted change curve is, and given you the tips that will help you be a change maker and help yourself through that unwanted change curve and everything that that implies. Just wanted to finish up with talking about the Changemakers Network for a moment. At the Changemaker Group, we have a purpose of developing changemakers so that they can change their world. We know that we can't do that through commercial work alone, and to deliver our purpose as widely as we can, we established the Changemakers Network to inspire, develop, and engage changemakers. Changemakers wherever you are in the world, whatever you're trying to do. Inevitably, we can't do that alone. And part of that is we've set up this Changemakers Forum to bring changemakers together, which can be, as I said just a moment ago, can be absolutely anybody, to actually help one another, inspire one another, and engage around the world. There are things that are available to changemakers. We have the Changemakers Micro Learning Community. If you head over to the Changemaker Group website, there's an option there for the Changemakers Network, and underneath there you'll find out how to gain access to some absolutely free online bite-sized learning with about 80 modules that will help you think about how you develop yourself as a change maker. On the homepage of our website, thechangemakergroup.com, you will find the Unwanted Change Curve survey. So we have, about 4 weeks ago, created a survey to understand how people are feeling today. It is really just 2 clicks. And also on that page, you'll find some videos from us talking about how things are for us at the moment. And also for those people working at home, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we created a series of videos of our top tips, because we do it pretty much all the time when we're not with clients. Lastly, I'll put all of this information in the chat. But if you would like to contact us, our telephone number and other details are on the Changemaker Group website, but you can also email network@thechangemakergroup.com. Thank you very much for everybody for listening to this series of. That's everything from me.
Looking for webinars.
Okay, thanks, Cathy and David. We going to set you a little challenge if you're watching this. I mean, people were asking, what does it take to be a change maker? And one of the simplest things you can do is literally invite somebody else to join this network. Just as simple as that. use the invite button at the top of the page here and invite somebody else in, because all of these videos that we've recorded over the last 2 weeks will be available to them. They'll be able to access all the resources that David was just talking about. And of course, they'll get to learn with you all about how to make change happen and how to inspire others and really make a difference. So that's a tiny, tiny thing to do. Just invite one person to come and join us, and let's double the size of the network over the next 7 days. How about that? Okay, thank you again, David and Cathy. Fantastic session. Lots of great comments in the chat, and people asking, can you share the slides afterwards as well? So
Absolutely.
if you're watching this later, hope you enjoy it. Please add any questions that you have, even if you are watching later, and we'll get right back to you. But other than that, have a fabulous day, and we will all see you very soon.